How's it going, folks? This is Mike back again. Why is he back? Why? Why? Okay, well, I thought I would do a little bit of a response to a video that a friend of mine made a couple of days ago. My friend Ian uh, is doing a series about science fiction movies, and he did a video where he watched and he talked about Plan 9 from Outer Space, which he had seen for the first time. Of course, that's considered to be one of the best bad films ever made, and I love it. I love that movie so much. His video was just absolutely hilarious. I mean, he was so funny talking about this movie, and I found myself being very envious of Ian watching this movie for the very first time, because there's only one first time to do anything, and to get that immediate reaction of, what the what's happening in this film. And yeah, he gave some very funny reactions, and so I found myself being all nostalgic about some of these old bad Ed Wood movies. So I got inspired to get out my Ed Wood box, Ed Wood, and go through the whole legacy of this good bad director. Okay, so let me talk about these a little bit just for fun. So I spent a couple of days going through these and savoring every moment. So okay, so here's the film in question, Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is probably his version of Citizen Kane or something like that. I don't know. There's a quote in one of these documentaries about Ed Wood where he says, "If you want to know who I am as a real person, you can watch Glenn or Glenda, right? But if you want to see my masterpiece, or I don't think that's the word he used, but my personal favorite or something like that, then see Plan 9 from Outer Space." So let's go through these films. Just a lot of these you may not be familiar with. Well, no, that's not true. I know Ian isn't, because he said at the end of his video that he didn't know what else Ed Wood had done. So Ian, this is for you, so that you can become accustomed to the genius of Ed Wood. Okay, only a handful of movies anyway. Going back to the year, let's see, what is this, 53, I believe, 1953. Yeah, 1953, Glenn or Glenda, in which Ed Wood himself plays the title role of Glenn. He uses a fake name. He calls himself Daniel Davis, but he directs and he wrote the script, and he also acts in it as this man named Glenn, who is a transvestite, and he just has a compulsion to wear women's clothes. Not all the time, but he feels much more comfortable when he's dressed in women's clothes. So it's all about him and the whole condition of being a transvestite. It's a very sympathetic film, which for 1953 was pretty amazing that somebody would take that chance to talk about these things in a very sympathetic and very positive way. So it's not a great movie, but it certainly is interesting. Yeah, you got to hand it to Ed Wood. He's got a lot of guts to do these things that he did. And Bela Lugosi is in this film, top billed. And just like in Plan 9 from Outer Space, where Ian said, and I agree, that Bela Lugosi is literally in another movie, that's pretty much the case here, because what Bela Lugosi does is kind of the narrator, the overseer of the whole thing. He really has very little to do with the story, but he's good. I mean, he looks great, and his voice is terrific. He's very dramatic, so good chance to see Bela Lugosi. All right, then we get up to this film called Jailbait, which is from 1954. And this is a very straightforward little crime thriller. Not a bad little film, to tell you the truth. Not great, but it's not bad. About a guy who gets involved in a robbery and a murder and regrets it very much. And it has kind of a sub-theme of plastic surgery, which plays into the plot in a very important way. The star of the film is a guy named Lyle Talbot, who is a veteran actor going all the way back to the 1930s, played hundreds of B movies and supporting roles and all kinds of things. And he also ended up being in Plan 9 from Outer Space as well. His co-star in the film is a guy named Steve Reeves, who was a championship bodybuilder just a couple of years before. He was Mr. America, Mr. Universe, very famous for his physiques and his good looks. And he wanted to break into film, so this is one of the first things he did. He's actually pretty good. And they only made him take his shirt off one time, so Jailbait. Actually a pretty cool little film, okay? And then we get up to 1955, 54, 55, Bride of the Monster. Once again, Bela Lugosi, and this time Bela Lugosi is the star of the film, and the whole thing revolves around him, and he's very much a part of the story. About a mad scientist who is trying to, what is he trying to do? He's trying to create a race of giant super beings so that he can take over the world. And excuse me, that didn't do my throat any good. I don't think I'll ever take over the world. So his co-star in this is a 400-pound wrestler named Tor Johnson, right? This guy here plays a character named Lobo, who is, well, he's just Lobo. He's just sort of like what he played in Plan 9. He just kind of, wanders around and beats people up and doesn't say much. And it's a very interesting little movie. It's a very bad movie, really. The worst part of it is that it has this this fake octopus that they stole from some prop shop in Hollywood. And at the end of the film, Bela Lugosi is supposed to be trapped inside of this octopus's arms, and it's just done very badly. But what do you do with a fake octopus? I mean, it's just, I don't know. There's no answer to that. So then we get up to the next film, which is Plan 9 from Outer Space, which they started filming in 1956 when Bela Lugosi was still alive, and actually Ed Wood was planning a different film, and he used footage of Bela Lugosi as he made the film a little bit later after Bela had died. So this was actually released in 1957, I think, for a very short time. 57 or 58, all the dates. There are different stories about when things were released and when they were pulled back. You sort of have to, I don't know, pick and choose what you want to believe. But it was eventually released in 1959, and then only for a very short time, and then it was released to television in 1961, and it, I don't know, it just, played midnight TV stations for years until it finally started becoming more and more famous back in the 1980s, and it's a gem. It really is. And then we have finally another film that came out around 1959, but did not have a wide release at all, and a lot of people thought it was a lost film, Night of the Ghouls, okay, which is in a very strange way kind of a sort of a sequel to Bride of the Monster. It kind of ties in with the story a little bit, but not really. And this is probably the best looking film of all of them. It actually has very good cinematography, black and white. They're all in black and white, of course, but doesn't have any real stars in it. Criswell is in this one again, just like he was in Plan 9 from Outer Space. He does the intro. He's lying in a coffin, and he gets up and he starts spouting all these weird things like monsters to be pitied, monsters to be despised, and it's a very strange movie about a phony medium who is trying to rip people off of their money, and then some real ghosts show up. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's really, the dialogue is even funnier, I think, than what they had in Plan 9 from Outer Space, if that's possible. But it's fun to look at, and it's a gem. And after that, Ed Wood made some other films which I haven't seen. Films like The Sinister Urge and let's see, Orgy of the Dead. He sort of slowly got into making more sexually oriented films, softcore type pornography, and then later on more of the hardcore type pornography as he got toward the end of his life. And he also wrote a lot of books. So I don't know, he was still around, but not as prominent as he was when he was making these wonderful things. And the other DVD in the package is this documentary called The Haunted World of Edward D. Wood Jr., which has the entire history of his life and career, as much as I know about his life. and interviews with a lot of people who knew him, a lot of the people who worked with him, including Vampira, and the people who acted in Plan 9 from Outer Space, like what is that guy's name? Gregory Walcott. Gregory Walcott, who was the star of Plan 9, was the only one who went on to have a really prolific career all up into the 1990s, and he actually had a small part in Ed Wood. And on this Plan 9 disc, there was also another documentary called Flying Saucers over Hollywood, which is yet another documentary about Ed Wood and features Vampira and Gregory Walcott and Paul Marco and a lot of the people who work with him. So it's just great fun. All kinds of things to love about Ed Wood and his legacy that he left us. And the only movie I didn't get around to watching is the movie Ed Wood itself, which I actually love. And I may go ahead and watch this maybe tonight or tomorrow. But yeah, I just wanted to experience the real glory of Ed Wood. So thank you, Ian, for that little bit of inspiration. And I got to tell you, folks, as much as I love, great classic films and Criterion Collection type stuff, this is really what I live for. This is what motivates me to keep going back to my TV room and turning it on. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I guess I will see you later. Let me know what you think about Ed Wood, all right? And go and watch Ian's video if you haven't seen it. I'll put a link down below, okay? It's really good to watch. Oh, one thing he did, Ian brought up this question, which I thought was so funny. He was talking about the fact they were up to Plan 9, right? And he said, what were the other plans, the other 8 plans before they got to Plan 9, and how bad were they, And I had never thought about that before. Yeah. Anyway, I'm babbling. Okay. See you later.